Just like you, your art is a big deal. But it's not always easy to stand out and sell your work. If you find all that posting, promoting, and marketing a challenge, then I have some good news. In my new ebook, 10 industry experts share their top art marketing and selling tips. This guide is free and ready for you to download. Go to www.soniasmallhere.com. You need to educate the algorithm. If you have all kinds of people following you on Instagram, from the baker to the local restaurant to aunts and uncles, the algorithm will be very confused because they don't know who to show your content to. So I would really separate your business and your personal social media. Get a business account and be very intentional about who you are following. Start following people who you would have follow you. My name is Sonia Smallhere. I'm an artist, art coach, and course creator. When I graduated from the Art Academy, I had learned how to paint and how to draw, but I had no idea how to earn a living with my creativity. I was not prepared for the life as a working artist. This often left me quite frustrated, sometimes on the verge of calling it quits, throwing away my brushes and giving it all up. But I'm so glad I didn't. After many failed attempts and valuable lessons learned, I've discovered ways to turn my creativity into a profession, now giving me the freedom to live the life I love. I created the Help I'm Artist podcast because no matter where you are on your journey, whether you're just starting out or maybe you've been a working artist for a while, you too can take steps to turn your creative passions into a meaningful, sustainable profession. The Help I'm Artist podcast is filled with fresh inspiration, practical tips, and interviews with artists who are experts in their field. If you're a smart artist or one in the making who's looking for new and exciting ways to get your art out of your studio and into the hands and hearts of an audience that's appreciative and willing to pay what it's worth, then you're in the right place. Happy listening. Today we're looking at connecting with your art audience. If there's ever been a time that we need to get more intentional about connecting with our art audience, it is now. And not just with any old body, but with your specific art audience. Where can you find them? Where is your art audience or your potential art buyer going to interact with art? Why are they looking for art? What is the purpose for buying a piece of art? These are important questions to know the answers to if you're wanting to turn your creativity into a revenue stream. Now, with this overcrowded internet, with so many artists actually fighting for attention, it's your challenge to find your specific audience, followers on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever platforms you're using, getting the right kind of people onto your website so that they can engage with your content. Getting the right people to come to art events or to join your workshops. It's time to get more intentional about how you're connecting with your art audience. Because it's absolutely true, if you try and reach everyone, you'll end up reaching nobody. You don't want to be spreading yourself so thin, trying to reach everyone, trying to make everyone your collector, everyone your buyer. You miss reaching that specific person. So the more specific you can be, the better. When somebody comes onto your Instagram feed, for example, or for your Facebook, or they head over to your LinkedIn, or they come onto your website, these are first encounters. Maybe they've seen a shared post, or they've seen something interesting in a reel, or they've stumbled across your website, or they've been Googling a local artist. However they come onto your platform, it's their first encounter. And what are you going to be doing to connect this first encounter, this first meeting with a person, and nurture and take them along a path of transformation so that they become potential buyers? See them as collectors so that they're not just one-time purchases, but they are coming back for more. There are specific things that you can do to transform a first encounter into a collector. And even better, to become your ambassador, purchasing multiple pieces and then sharing the love with the people around them So they are becoming your ambassadors. They are doing the work for you. They are sharing. They are enthusiastic. They understand your vision. They're excited about what you're doing because you've been sharing it with them. You've been posting. You've been engaging. You've been sharing. You've been generous of sharing your story, of your inspiration, of your process. And they are excited about the things you're doing. They're looking forward to your next post or to your email, to your newsletter, and then they are sharing it with the people around them. So are you setting out to nurture collectors, not just these one-offs? It's far more effective if you think long-term and nurture your audience. Maybe you don't have thousands and thousands of followers on Instagram, but you have the right followers, people that are invested and interested, and that you're going to take them on this path of transformation and turn them into collectors. So be encouraged. All that posting and sharing you're doing, if you're doing it intentionally, reaching the right kind of people, it has its place. It might be a long-term process. It might be a strategy that takes time, but it will start paying off in the end if you keep doing the work, showing up and sharing generously of your art and your art process. And that chasm between those first encounters and your collectors, that chasm needs to be filled with content, filled with information. You want to build a bridge between those first encounters and your collectors. And that's what we call marketing. Now, I know many of you creatives break out into a rash just thinking about marketing. That's the worst part of your job. You think, what am I going to be sharing? Who wants to hear from you? And how am I going to get this content out there? Marketing, guys, is nothing more than connecting and communicating with a specific audience. You are bringing your goods to market to the right kind of people, and you have intentional steps and a plan for that. And whether you're a starter, emerging, or an experienced artist, your goals will differ. Your intentions will change as you're growing in your art practice. Assess where you are now. What is it that you want? If you're a starter, you want to tell people that you're starting on this adventure of being a creative, and you're going to be venturing into becoming a full-time working artist over a series of years. And you're going to take people along on that process as you are inquisitive and open and learning about what it is to be a working artist. And you're going to be honest and share that in your posting, share that on your website. You're going to take them on that journey from the place where you are now. And when you're an emerging artist, so you're going to be showing a bit more. Maybe you have an online shop, you have your first exhibition, maybe you've had it locally, now you're going to work more nationally or further away from where you're living. You are expanding your reach. You need different marketing goals for that. You need different ways to connect with even more people. And then maybe you're experienced, you're connecting to, maybe with the press, maybe with the influencers. You are then again expanding those concentric circles as you're growing in your art career. In this session, we're going to be looking at who is your dream art buyer. Have you thought about that? Do you have an idea of who that is? And just a little tip, that person looks a lot like you, because what you are passionate about and interested in and what you bring out into the world, your vision, it'll attract a certain kind of person. And that person, maybe not physically, but just how they're made up, how they are showing up in the world, will look very similar to you. So that's the first place you can start to find clues about connect with the right kind of people, is to have a look and say, okay, who are you connecting with? What makes you happy? Where are you spending your time? And how would you purchase art if you were the art buyer? And then have to think of your art practice as a business. You are not only making your art. That's not enough just to make your art collections. You have to think like an entrepreneur. You have to think like a business person. So this is a business venture you're on because you are selling your creativity, you are putting value out there in the market, and you're connecting that with the right kind of person. Why do people buy art? What is it that motivates them to take out their wallets, to actually purchase a piece, pay for a piece of art? There are many surveys out there, and it's the number one reason is still decorating someone's home. So maybe they've moved to a new place, or they've bought this new couch, or they have this space that they want to fill with some inspiration, with color, with a message, with beauty. Decorate a space. They're looking for inspiration. You have an inspiring job, guys. as artists, you are looking, researching, developing, putting thoughts down on paper, down on paint, in clay. There is inspiration oozing out of everything that you're doing. That's the start of your art piece, and that is infectious to your art audience. They are looking for inspiration. I know someone who buys art just to be motivated to start her day in the right mindset. So she has art around her. She wakes up, she comes downstairs, and she sees this positivity around her, and it just makes her day. She says, every day I'm reminded that I can show up differently in the world. It depends on my attitude. So that's inspiring to her. So that can be in all different aspects of someone's life. You are offering them inspiration. There are also people building a collection. So they don't only want one piece of an artist, they want multiple pieces. They are building a collection. And people buy art because they want to support artists. That they know that it's not always easy, it's challenging being an artist and having that profession. People want to support artists, and they want to support local artists. So guys, that's also an important way of connecting with your local markets. I think internet now is very enticing and wants us to connect with the whole world, which is great, but your greatest asset is right there locally. You are the local artist, so you can really use that to your advantage. So reaching a local market. Who is your local buyer in your village, in your city, in your town? And then people buy art as an investment. It's not the biggest group, but yes, they are. They want to have it as an investment. And then as gifts, something that you can give someone else. So multiple reasons why people buy art. Buying art is a personal and emotional process. It's not something that's rational. It's like, I'm going to now analyze this and buy it, but very often people see something, it touches them, it has an emotional trigger, it reminds them of a certain event or a certain emotion or a certain time in their life, or something aspirational they want to achieve in the future, or just beautiful colors. It does something to them on an emotional level. And that's how you should be connecting with your art audience, remembering that it's a personal and emotional journey to purchase a piece of art. And that's how you can relate to them in your posting, in your sharing, in your blogging, or whatever content you're putting out there to support and amplify what you are doing. So why are people buying your art? Take some time to think that through and write down a list of why people should be buying your art. What is the purpose of your art? Why are you making it, and why should somebody be purchasing it? It's good to have a think and put that down on paper. Very often artists feel subservient to their art audience. They are so happy if someone is eager and enthusiastic to buy their art. It's almost that the artist feels that the art buyer is doing them a favor purchasing their piece. But you have to remember that you are offering value. You have taken time, energy, money to invest in making an art piece. Your art audience is receiving value. It's not that you're going to downplay the transaction, you are offering value. So that you're not making excuses or making things half price, or you're just happy that someone actually was interested in your art, so you kind of like give it away. You are going to value what you're doing, what you put onto the market, what you are bringing your art audience. You are not doing them a favor. They are not doing you a favor. There is an exchange of value, and get a better understanding, get into the right mindset about the value that you are offering your art audience, because that really will change how you are showing up, how you are posting, or how you are running your art business. Confident about the value that you're bringing. So where are people buying art? The digital spaces has made art accessible in all places all around the world. So people are going to physical places, but also online spaces. And it's good for you to get a good idea of where these spaces are. So let's start with physical places. Where are people purchasing art in your area, your geographical area? Make a list of all the physical places. And it doesn't always have to be in a gallery. There are multiple places where people are engaging with art. And our recreation, our vacation, the time we spend in leisure has really merged into a place of buying and a place of retail. You see that now too, that in restaurants, they're not only selling food, but they're selling an experience. So you can collaborate with local businesses, local markets where you can show your art and where people are willing and it's totally acceptable to buy art. So make a list, take a walk around your town, your city, and make a mental note of all the places where there's a potential market to sell your art. And maybe it's time to get a little bit more bold and to step out of all those conventional ways and to find creative ways of connecting with your art audience in physical places. I just heard of an artist a few weeks ago that was finding it very difficult to break through into the art gallery scene in New York, which is a very guarded and very closed and also sometimes very exclusive market. And so she decided she was going to print her art in huge formats and stick them all around the city. She made the city her gallery, and people would interact with her art going in the subway, riding on the bus. They would see her art all over the place. The municipality wasn't always very pleased about it, but it did give her time for conversations with her art audience. And you could think of places, shop windows, that you can maybe add a QR code so that people can find you online. People can read your story on your website. Then let's look at the digital places. Whoa, talk about opportunities. There are multiple places where you can share your work online. Think of third-party platforms that represent you. You can use your own website, social media, collaborations. You can use different virtual exhibition spaces. Make a note of all the digital places that you could venture into, maybe going into this new year, that you're going to find new spaces to connect with your art audience in these digital spaces. So discovering places where you can market your art physically and digitally. Take some time to brainstorm these different markets. And I think there's enormous value of being really clear of who you are as an artist. What is your vision on life? What is your artistic style? What do you have to say? The more clear you are about that, the more you'll start attracting the right kind of people. Otherwise, it'll be really difficult to assess who your art audience is, because you'll be all over the place. Maybe you're switching and changing techniques every week. You're doing different things, and there's a place for experimenting. That's part of artists' life. We need to venture and, reinvent ourselves and discover new ways of expression. The clearer you can communicate that through your marketing efforts, the clearer your audience will understand of what you're actually doing, and you start attracting the right kind of people. So get clear about your point of vision. Develop quality art so you're attracting people and you can really put yourself on the market as a professional working artist with a consistent style, and that you have an elevated brand. So through the photography, the wording that you're using, how you're presenting and showing up in the physical and digital places, through all your marketing assets, you are showing your audience that you're professional and that they are excited to follow you. Because there are many moving parts of a working artist's life. There's you as the artist, that's where it starts. You are making your art. Without the artist, there's no art, and without art, there's no artist. And then the third part of that is the audience. And it's finding the balance between you as a person, your vision, how you're pouring that into your art, and who you are communicating that with your art audience. I've noted 3 ways that you can start to define your art audience. It's by asking, listening, and surveying your art audience. Let's take a closer look at asking. It might seem like a given, but I've seen artists that are successful are the artists that know how to communicate, not only through their beautiful art, but they can actually talk to people. I know many of you are introverts. You find it difficult to communicate with words because you feel things so deeply. You'd rather express it through your art. But finding ways to communicate with your art audience in conversation really is part of a working artist's life. So whether you're at an in-person event, at an art fair, you are using that digital space through your social media, ask questions. I know it can be vulnerable because you've put this art out there and you just want people to love what you're doing, and you're very wary of the responses. You don't want to be rejected. That's very normal. There really is a place to get into that conversation with your art audience, because then you have an opening, you can ask people questions about what kind of art you have hanging at your home. What is your favorite piece? Maybe they are in the exhibition, or you have a booth at an art fair. You can say, what's your favorite piece here? Is it something that you like? Maybe they say, oh, not my taste at all. Thank you very much. You say, well, great. Thank you for being here and have a wonderful day. But get into that place of confidence about talking about art, your art, and asking questions. You can ask who's their favorite artist. Why do they love art? Why did they purchase art? Where do they have art hanging? If they'd want any art on their wall, what would it be? Because you are starting conversation, and from one thing will lead to the other. But if you're just sitting at your booth, hiding behind a painting, not going into conversation with people, just thinking, well, my art should speak for itself, you really are missing a lot of opportunities. So asking questions, whether it's online or in physical places. And then, of course, listening. So people will be talking and then listening, really listening to what people are saying or what people are not saying. Listen to, maybe you are at an in-person event and someone is talking about your art and you happen to be in the space. Listen, what are people saying? And really be open and don't take it personally or feel rejected of people have different opinions. It won't be to everyone's taste. Read the posts and comments that you have on your social media, for example. What are people saying as they're engaging with your art? Try and find out, okay, where is it resonating and where is it not resonating? And pay attention to your numbers. Your numbers are speaking volumes. And I'm talking numbers as far as your analytics. Who is visiting your website? Who is this person that's come onto your website? Who's been Googling you? Who seems to be coming back and visiting certain pages or your shop? Who's it that's liking and commenting on your social media posting? And yes, that'll be your mom or that'll be your sister and that'll be a friend. But try and really dig deeper and see who outside of all those personal friends and family is engaging with your art. And then a great way is to survey. You can use all the tools that social media offers. Think of Instagram stories. You can do poll stickers and you can do question stickers. Start engaging with your art audience there. If people aren't responding and you're thinking, I'm really talking to a nobody, then maybe you have the wrong kind of followers. And then you need to follow different kind of people so that you can engage with the right kind of audience. You can ask questions in a community or in a group. Maybe you have your own group or you're part of groups. You can ask questions there. You can make a questionnaire. People love quizzes, so you can set up a short little quiz about your work and what their preferences are. You can even rent a stall at an art fair for the purpose of connecting with your art audience. See who naturally gravitates towards your stall. What kind of person is it? Are they male? Are they female? Are they young? Are they older? Are they more adventurous? What do their clothes look like? How are they responding? What kind of person is this? You can really learn a lot just by interacting and being out in a physical place to find out who is actually gravitating towards your work and who is not. And then you can ask questions. So important, guys, to keep your art audience in mind so that what you're posting is resonating and reaching the right kind of person. And create a profile. So this will be a work in process, and sometimes you'll have to make educated guesses of who this art audience is. And the more that you develop from being a starter, emerging and experienced, you'll see patterns, and you'll start to join the links, and you'll start to get a better idea of who your art audience is. And in closing, you need to educate the algorithm. If you have all kinds of people following you on Instagram, from the baker to the local restaurant to aunts and uncles, the algorithm will be very confused because they don't know who to show your content to. So I would really separate your business and your personal social media. Get a business account and be very intentional about who you are following. Start following people who you would have follow you, who your potential art buyer is. Start following that kind of person. So that's why it's important to get an understanding of who this art person is. And of course, you can sprinkle in artist friends and, important to follow gallerists and curators and people who have influence in the art market, your art market. But be very intentional about reaching your art audience and start making content that they want to hear. What would inspire them? What would make their day? And the more you can define what inspires them and what would make the day, you can align your content so that what you're posting or quotes or how your process or how you're talking online, how you're showing up, and the different marketing assets that you're using, because you can get really specific. And then the algorithm will start understanding and putting you in the right kind of profile so that they show your content to the right kind of people. So take some time, find out why people are buying art, why people should be buying your art, where are people buying art, and who is this art buyer. And once you make that profile, you can align all your communication and connecting so that you can fill that gap between those first encounters and start transforming those first encounters into collectors so that you're getting value for your time. So it's not just a one-off, all those efforts you're doing. You are building something for the long run. Remember, you're in this for the long run. It's not just something that you're doing on a whim and an urge is being an artist. No, you're building an art business. And so it's going to take you through the years and years and years. So it's so worth the investment. Well, that's all for this week. If you want extra support in marketing and building a business around your creativity, then you're welcome to join me and a group of wonderful artists from around the world in the Help I'm Artist Facebook group. Here you'll find a video version of this podcast and other episodes. Don't forget to download your free art marketing guide. You can head over to www.soniasmallhere.com. And if you don't ever want to miss an episode, then you can subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening to this episode. And leave a review, as this will make the podcast more visible and easier for other artists to find it. Thanks for that. Have an amazing week, and I look forward to connecting with you next time. Until then.